What's up, guys? Atapark here, and today I want to share a story with everyone. Normally, when I sit down and I do a video, I talk to my raid leaders, I talk to my guild leaders, I talk to my raiders. I talk to an individual portion of the player base, an individual portion of the raiding scene, because I have something to share specifically with that group of players. Or we'll do a guide, or I'll talk about something in general. But for today, I want to talk to everybody, everyone involved in the raiding process, from the guy that shows up hopefully a few minutes early so that they can be prepared, that logs on, does their job, kills things, interrupts, etc. Once the night's over with and the raid's done, they log out, all the way up to the raid leader and the guild leaders that are combing through logs and having very intricate discussions and making decisions about their guild. This is a story for everyone, because at the end of this, I want everyone to keep what I'm about to share in the back of your mind, because it's something that comes up with every raid, and it is something that, if done properly, there's no problem and it's never really noticed. But if done wrong, if there is an issue that arises, it is a guild-destroying issue. So I'm going to share with you guys a story of me in the Marine Corps, because I'm feeling nostalgic, and with my birthday coming up in a few days, I'm feeling old. So I'm going to share a story with you guys, and then we're going to talk about it, and I want to share with you guys my thoughts. So when I joined the 15th MU, the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is a story in and of itself that, if you guys ever want to hear, just let me know in the comments and I'll share it with you. But I joined the 15th MU after my first deployment to Iraq. And I joined the 15th MU and I was put on duty, barracks duty. What that means is that instead of going and doing my job for the day, I don't want to call it guard duty. I don't want to call it babysitting, but it's a mixture of both. Basically, you hang out at the barracks in the specified area. Make sure people aren't doing stupid shit. No fights. Nobody's, drinking and getting stupid. Everybody's cleaning their mess up. Stuff like that. So I was on duty, and my buddy Jason messages me or emails me or whatever, and he's like, "Hey man, you should really play WoW again. I've gotten into it, etc." And I said, "Screw it. I have 24 hours where I have to stay up. As long as I can take a break, every 20-30 minutes, patrol the barracks, make sure everything's okay. Shouldn't be a problem." So get my laptop hooked up, everything's set up, start playing, and I get my hooks, or at least WoW gets its hooks. Blizzard gets those talons into me, and I'm hooked. And I'd played WoW before, but never really liked it, which is weird considering, that was the point where I was hooked into the game. And when I get off duty and a few days go by, I'm talking to one of my friends who at the time was more of an associate, but now is a brother to me, my buddy Brian. And I tell him, "Hey, I've been playing WoW." He says, "Yeah, I've been playing WoW." And he says, "Hey, we have a gunnery sergeant in the 15th MU that actually plays WoW. You should talk to him." And at the time, I was a lance corporal. And for those of you that don't know military rank, that aren't knowledgeable on how the military works, at least in the Marine Corps, they generally follow a very strict set of rules when it comes to rank. Now, I would say for other branches and service members of other branches, if I'm completely off base with this, say something. But to a lesser extent, other branches do this, but it's a little bit more relaxed. But for the Marine Corps, if you are a private first class, or a lance corporal, you hang out with privates, PFCs, and lance corporals. Corporals and sergeants hang out together, and then your staff NCOs, your staff sergeants, gunnery sergeants, master sergeant, first sergeant, sergeant major, and master gunnery sergeant, they hang out together. And there is a reason for this, in that your PFCs, your privates, and lance corporals don't really have any responsibility. Your corporals and sergeants have some responsibility, and your staff NCOs, that big list that I just gave you, they have a lot of responsibility. And there's a lot of power that the corporals, sergeants, and above can exercise over other people. And that's what we're going to get at today. So he says, hey, you should talk to this guy. He plays WoW too. And I was like, all right, whatever, sure. So a few days go by, and sure enough, this gunnery sergeant approaches me and he says, hey, dude, I heard you play World of Warcraft. And I was like, yes, Gunny, I play World of Warcraft. Very polite, very professional, doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. And he says, cool, you should play on my server. I say, no, Gunny, I have a level 20 mage. And he says, okay, maybe you misunderstood. You're re-rolling on my server. Here's the server information. You'll play Horde from now on. And the rest is history when it comes to my characters. But that's the beginning of a very, at least at the start, a very awkward relationship. Because like I said, here I am playing a video game outside of work, hanging out essentially with a gunnery sergeant. I'm a Lance Corporal at the time. This guy's been in the Marine Corps 15 years. I've been in the Marine Corps a year and a half. And it was a very weird relationship. So I think he could tell going into it, this is kind of weird. I mean, I was very inexperienced in dealings with the Marine Corps at the time. I was, as we call them in the Marine Corps, boot. I didn't know what was going on. And he pulls me aside one day into a closet. And this closet was the crypto closet. It was where we kept all of our encryption gear. And he was in there with his buddy, who was also a gunnery sergeant. And behind this closed door, he said, look, this can go one of two ways. First option is that we agree that, we should keep this professional and you walk away. Neither one of us is worse for, anything that's happened. Or option B, when you are behind closed doors, when we are together and we are alone, and that sounds a little dirty, but when the major, the colonel, the captain aren't around, I'm Steve, he's Jeff, you're Chris. But when the captain, major, and colonel aren't around, I'm a gunnery sergeant, I'm a gunny, so is he, you are a Lance Corporal. Which one do you want to do? And I thought about it, and very quickly I said, what most people are going to say. I choose option B. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. I enjoy playing WoW with you guys. I want to keep doing it. I said, look, we can keep doing it, but if you fuck this up, the hammer will come down on you. And I will play stupid, and I will call you a liar, and I will do everything because I'm going to protect my ass over yours. Understood, Gunny. Got it. And I never fucked up. There was never an issue. I was smart enough to be able to not get stupid about it. But what I'm getting at here is that I think a lot of people, and this is a discussion for a completely different day. A lot of people forget that World of Warcraft is a game, a MMO, a massive multiplayer online, and there's arguments to be made that maybe the MMO portion, or at least the the massively multiplayer portion of it, isn't necessarily true. Garrisons and whatnot, but for the sake of argument, World of Warcraft is a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. The goal is to play with lots of other people, to get into communities and groups and guilds and find parties and people and friends and talk to them and make discoveries and do challenging content and all this stuff. All this, at least 10 years ago, stuff that was amazing and we all loved it, which, again, discussion for a different day, probably something that we've really lost as players and developers of the game. But at the end of the day, it's a game. However, with that being said, when we agree that we want to raid, when we say, look, I want to join this guild, I want to be there, I want to join this group of players, this like-minded group of players, and I want to enjoy the content and push, and here is the goals that they have, and they align with the goals that I have, and so we're going to do this. When it comes time to put forth that effort, when it is raid time, when the raid is forming up. Your raid leader, your guild leader, whoever's in charge, is not Chris, Jeff, Steve, Brian. Whatever his name is, but he is the raid leader. And when he makes a call, you execute it. When he makes a decision, you do it. And there is an appropriate time to discuss, an appropriate time to argue about it, an appropriate time to debate about it. But you have agreed to join this group. And unlike the military where, had I screwed up, I would have been demoted, probably lost pay, been humiliated. When it comes to WoW, there's no such risk, but the lesson is the same. When you go into a group and you say, look, I want to raid with you guys, you are agreeing, hey, you're in charge when it comes raid time. Now, with that being said, let's flip it around to my raid leaders and my guild leaders. When it is time to raid, you are in charge. You are absolutely in charge. That means that you need to take charge, and this is, again, a topic that we'll discuss later. But you are the guy in charge, and you need to make sure that you are handling yourself accordingly. But when you are not raiding, when the raid's over and you're doing a 5-man, when you're doing a battleground, when you're doing just leveling and alt, sitting in vent or TeamSpeak, and you're just chatting with people. Yeah, you're the raid leader during raid nights. Yeah, you're the guild leader. But that doesn't mean that as the guild leader, you have this unlimited amount of power to demand people do what you require them to do. Now, if you say, hey, look, you need to run heroics, you need to run mythics to get upgrades, etc., cool. But you are not in a position to declare, to declare this decree, you're not the emperor of Warcraft, etc. And I think both parties need to realize that in the end, it's a game, and when it's time to raid, it's time to raid. Everybody needs to assume their positions and do what needs to be done. But when the raid is over, people need to remember that this is a game and you're supposed to be having fun. Make sure you're having fun. Now, with that being said, and this is most definitely a topic we're going to talk about, when you are, as a guild or raid leader, still talking to you guys, when you are a guild or raid leader, your job is to be a guild or raid leader. That means that you need to be setting the example of what everyone else needs to follow. Just throwing that out there. We're definitely going to touch on this a lot more. But until that happens, just a little bit of advice on, a little bit of cherry advice on the advice pie. I don't know. Hopefully you guys like what I'm saying here. Hopefully you agree. If you have anything to say, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. You can follow me on Twitter. All that information is in the description. I very much so appreciate you guys watching these videos. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more stuff like this. Both of those things encourage me a great deal to continue to put out content like this. And until next time, guys, I'll see ya.